So someone who bridges the gap between the seen and the unseen. And for myself, one of the things that I loved most while I learned is she was also named Artist of the Year several times in New York State's Wildlife Art Competition. She's an extremely talented artist, an accomplished spirit artist, and biogenesis expert. And we're going to find out a little bit more about what that means. Welcome, Judith.
Hi, Kelly. Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you. We can just put your mic a little bit closer to you. There you go. Now, you are so talented. The first thing we knew about you, of course, was some of your spiritual talents and gifts that you have. But you are also an incredibly talented artist, and you just had some artwork in our recent show.
I did. Thank you very much. It was a great show and a great idea to combine angels or spiritual nature and art together. Haven't seen it done before?
Honestly, it was inspired by some of the artists who are here and things that we're going on here at the Art Center. And we thought that was a really nice combination. And to find you working in those mediums together, apparently we were just on the same wavelength for that.
It was fun, yeah.
It was, and your work is so extraordinary. Vince, one of the things that she had you had, I believe, a heron?
Yes, blue heron.
You had a blue heron in flight. Absolutely stunning piece, so realistic. Highly detailed.
Thank you.
I was not surprised then to learn that you had actually even gone in and come very close to getting postage stamps made.
Well, I had done a contest for the federal duck stamp, and that's actually extraordinarily competitive, and it was very lucrative.
It is. It's hard.
But when I say close, like it's on my resume, or not resume,
like
but bio, like 7th and 12th or something like that. It's hard to get down to that level.
It's a national competition.
It is, but there's ties. As you get farther down, like towards 3rd, 4th, 5th, there's ties. So I can't remember how many people were ahead of me. Even though I was 7th, there might have been 12 people ahead of me.
Gotcha.
But then the first prize used to be, with the publishing rights, used to be like $1 million. It was a really big deal. Yeah. Now things have changed. I'm not quite sure it's that.
Well, with the forever stamp, who knows?
Right.
Like,
right. These are little ducks for the hunters. They buy them or buy them for conservation. So I think every year you have to get a new one, and it's always a new design picked. But that was right out of the box when I started painting professionally. I had a lot of good signs from the universe to keep going, and that was one of them.
And that's really extraordinary. So you've been painting animals and doing things highly realistic. This was always your passion?
Yeah, that's what I did in high school. I hung out in the art room queen kind of thing. That was my little world. But I thought artists were a little flaky. Like, I thought they were a little ungrounded, and I didn't really want to be in that realm. I wanted to be with really grounded people, so I went for animal science, and I thought dairy farming, that you can't get more grounded than that and farther away from the spiritual stuff than dairy farming. So I went for animal science.
And that's what you did for a number of years, is you were actually working in dairy farms with nutrition.
Yeah, working as a consultant, helping dairy farmers figure out what to feed their cows and how much inventory they had, and managing all that, what nutrients they needed to add. And I did that for about 13 years. I did it 10 years for a company out in Strikersville, and then 3 years on my own as a consultant, and segued that into painting.
Were you still painting while you were doing your consulting?
No. I was completely doing consulting, and then towards the end, I really wasn't happy doing it. It just wasn't me. I loved my customers, and I loved animals, and I loved all that, but it's a really dog-eat-dog industry, very, very painful because it's contracting, and so many people are going out of business every year and seeing family farms leave. It's just really hard. I found it to be hard.
It's a harsh reality.
Harsh reality, yeah. And so for me, that was like, it was hard. So I was looking at other things. That creative, bone was, a leopard can't change its spots, and I just kept feeling this need that I needed to make a right turn. And so that's what I did. I looked into all kinds of things, fish farming and all kinds of things.
Really?
Yeah. And then I'm like, well, I can paint, so let me try that.
And so you're like, nope, I'm retiring from dairy farm nutrition consultant, and I think I'm going to become a spiritualist painter.
Well, no, an artist, a wildlife artist, because I was not into this whole crazy other side of things. I didn't want anything to do with it yet. So everyone probably thought I lost my mind. All of my dairy farmer clients probably thought I lost my mind to go painting from being a consultant.
Well, I'm like, you had to know the anatomy really well.
That's a big deal. Yes, the anatomy.
Because your animal portraiture is extraordinary.
Thank you very much.
And you have to have deep, innate knowledge of bones and muscles.
A lot
and
of dissection classes, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the sheen on a feather, like where is the iridescence? Yeah. It's beautiful. Your work is extraordinary.
Thanks so much, Kelly. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm like, it's not just me who thinks that. Right? I'm like me and your mom. It's more than me and your mom. Who thinks that your work is really, really beautiful. And so you started taking a portraiture, animal portraiture.
Yes, wildlife art, yep. I saw a painting by Charles Francais years earlier, and I realized for once that you could actually take nature and combine it with art. And that's why when I wanted to get out of nutrition, I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll do this nature art thing. And I took, I was juried into a school or a workshop by Robert Bateman, who's a very well-known artist. Everyone in Canada loves him.
Yes.
Okay, so there were 75 people picked out of, I don't know how many applied. It was out in Bozeman. Spent a week with him, and he really cemented my interest in wildlife art because it's more than just a pretty picture. You can raise a lot of money for conservation.
Oh, you really can?
Yeah. So I was really interested in that realm, not just nature, but just wildlife in particular. And there's a lot of mystery there, and it's like you could never be done with it. There's just so many layers you could go through. Take a lifetime or 2 or 3.
Like one of the things I read that you had written about painting herons, right, is that so many people have done it, but you're just drawn to do it again.
Yes. Yeah, there's always something new. I mean, you can look, depending on how you look, you can look at a heron picture and say, it's another heron picture. But then, if you keep looking at it, usually there's something different about it. There's a reflection in the water, there's a look to it, or there's a pose, or there's a what is it doing, where's it going? You know, there's so many opportunities for more mystery in painting the same animal.
You know, we would say the same thing about humans, right?
I think so.
Right? That there is, every individual, every creature has something unique and special and beautiful about it. And the idea of trying to somehow convey that experience to another person is as valuable as you can get.
Yes, I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I definitely did, like, one of the things I saw in your recent available works is you had, you couldn't decide which pose you wanted your spring robin in.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So there's this one little robin that's straightforward and very, like, you know, and then there's one that's a little coy with its head over its shoulder, like, oh, yes, welcome spring. I guess I did it all myself. Right? It was a beautiful, beautiful portrait. So how do you decide what you want to paint?
I feel inspired. You know, something hits me. And then it kind of sits in my mind and percolates sometimes for years, sometimes for days. And then I just start. I start looking for reference. And usually it starts with a scene or a photo I've taken or even something somebody else has taken. And then goes from there. Usually I need supporting, you know, photographs and experiences for that.
Well, speaking of that, you actually went to Kenya.
I did. Yeah, it was amazing. It's just amazing.
So what were you doing in Kenya?
Well, I have a good friend, Kim Diamond, who's an amazing wildlife artist. She's in Michigan, and she lived over there, and she was hired to paint some gravy zebras because they're becoming extinct. And so she called me up and she said, "Hey Jude, you want to go to Africa for free?" I'm like, "Oh, sure."
You're like, "Well, yes, I would."
Yeah. So she got to take a traveling companion, and it was out in the middle of nowhere. You know, 2 hours by plane north of Nairobi. And the Leoa Conservancy hosted us. At the time, I believe it was 60,000 acres. Now I think it's much bigger, I believe. But they were pretty much like the director, the guy who was running it, said, "Here's my Land Rover, here's my place, you know, here's a place to stay, here's the food, here's a guide, and here's a driver, and I'll see you."
And good luck with that.
Yeah, I got to go to England.
Oh my gosh!
I'll be gone for a month. You can stay as long as you want, up to a month. And I had it. My daughter was young, so we stayed 12 days. But yeah, it was an experience of a lifetime.
Wow!
Because we were on it, we could do whatever we wanted, but we were fully supported with food and
looking for zebras.
Yeah, well, everything was there, right? So zebras and everything. You know, I didn't see much Not many lions. I wish I'd seen more of that, but I saw everything else. I was very happy.
Because I did see that you had a series of portraits that you had some elephants and you had zebras. Although you said that the zebra, like all the pictures that you had taken of zebras were mostly with their butts and heels.
Yeah.
Because they're running away.
Yes. I came back. I had a show in San Diego. I came back from Africa. I had a show in San Diego, and I went to the zoo there. Got the best zebra pictures ever.
They're like, yes, we're city zebras. We're very used to posing. This is my good side, really. These are like, look at these stripes. I've had them done at Cartier. Yes.
They were running towards us at the zoo, not away.
Exactly. They're a little bit more used to, a little bit more friendly and things going on. So I love it very much. So, but one of the things that I was super fascinated with, you said, like with your animals and that, you actually had the opportunity to work on a very important book on white-tailed deer.
Yes. That was, I forgot the title. It's
The Biology and Management of White-tailed Deer, edited by David Hewitt of Texas A&M University.
Yes. So I have to tell the little secret on that one.
Oh, okay, wait. I love secrets. By the way, we are on the radio, so we not be
I was just going to say that.
No, that's okay. It's not that kind of secret.
I'm like, bum, 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 bum.
Dave Hewitt is my brother-in-law, so I had a little in.
Oh!
Yeah. So when he was looking for someone to do the book cover, he contacted me because I was in New York doing my wildlife thing, and he, that was growing. Business was growing. And he was in Texas. His was growing, and he was, I don't know how he got into doing that book, but part of his work. And he's like, hey, Jude, you want to do this book? And I'm like, sure. Never did one of those, but it was a pretty big commitment. And so, I did the cover and did the inside pieces, and it's, the classroom book, right? It's the class book for Texas A&M, and I think a lot of colleges that would teach wildlife.
Conservation and stuff, yeah.
Conservation, so, yeah, and up until that point when he wrote it, I believe, I read somewhere it was the most comprehensive because it covers, like, everything, yeah.
Well, Texas A&M has an extremely fantastic publishing program. Things and this is, I think it's great. And I think it's one of the things, like, that kind of reverence and things that people get when you're doing paintings and portraiture. There is a certain level of prestige that actually comes in making someone or something the subject of artwork.
Yeah.
And there is something, I think that really shows the reverence for animals and conservation to have something like that done. And I think that was really something really interesting. And I can't wait to actually see that book. And I'm probably going to have to get it for my father-in-law.
Should have brought it with me.
Well,
your father-in-law is a hunter, huh?
Actually, does a lot of conservation work.
Oh, does he?
He does. Yes, hunting, of course, as well, because that's population management and that sort of thing is. But actually, no, my husband grew up on a hunting and fishing lodge area, and my family actually runs some of that and did conservation. And actually, my father-in-law did a number of different things with not only wildlife conservation, but animal management in cities and things as well.
Very interesting. Huh.
Yeah, no, it's super fascinating. I've learned quite a bit more about that. And they would also do the snowfall, where they put in the wintertime, in order to make sure that the populations are going to be sustainable and there's enough food, they have to check how deep the snow is. So you have my poor husband or his family would out there traipsing in the snow. It's like, oh yes, the snow is 8 feet deep, right? And they're putting the stick down to make sure the deer and things can actually get down to the food stuff. So
what a great way to be raised, huh?
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, you got that in your family.
Well, at least my husband did. I married in. It'll count.
Yeah,
I'm like, some days I think they count me as part of their family. Right? So,
I think it's osmosis,
I would like to think so. I'd like to think so indeed. But it's a really interesting way of having grown up. So now, one of the things so you moved from doing this really highly technical work, and you still do.
Still do.
You still do, but you expanded a little bit. And how did that happen? And what did you do?
Oh, that's a very interesting story. I'll try and make a short story.
It's okay, we got time.
Okay. I was minding my own business doing wildlife art, trying to stay in my little between the rails on wildlife art and grounded nature, reality, all that stuff. And I was looking for something fun to do with my 3 friends. There was 4 of us. We hung out together. We did card club, whatever. Always looking for something fun. So I was sitting in an art show one time. Ray Easton, who's a Rochester avian artist, he's really amazingly talented as well, sitting next to me at this show. We're waiting for people to come by. He's kind of slow. He says, I did something fun. He says, I had a biogenesis energy work session. I'm like, what are you talking about?
And what's biogenesis?
It's if anybody's ever heard of Reiki, it's along the same lines. It's for anybody who's never ever heard of anything like this, I would say it's acupuncture without the needles. Even though it's not really like that, that's the closest I can come to starting at the basic level. You're working with people's energy and not touching them, which I know sounds crazy for some people, and maybe some people know. But Reiki is one that's very well known. Like, it's out there in most towns. They have Reiki practitioners. They're teaching classes. Anybody can go pay, their $100 or $200 and get a Reiki 1 certification. Anyone can do it. With biogenesis, it is, well, what he told me is he's like, I had this amazing experience. It's mind-blowing, blah, blah, blah. And he gives me this card for this guy in Rochester. And I'm looking at it like, this is crazy. But I'm going to take my girlfriends. We're going to go have some wine and have some fun. Or no, I want to do a party. So I called the guy up and said, hey, Randy, would you come down and do this party? Like, I'm going to have some girlfriends. We're going to do a biogenesis party. And he says, it's not how it works. It's not really like that. He says, why don't you come up to my office in Rochester and you can have a session. So I'm like, sure. So, of course, I grabbed my girlfriends, and we still planned the day of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Lunch and wine and whatever. And I went up there and had a session, and normal Judy walked in, and in the session, I started seeing and hearing all of this stuff, like people, faces, everything. It was just crazy. It was like a crazy movie you got dropped into. And I left there. I'm like, well, this is crazy.
You're like, what did he put in the water?
Right, seriously.
Were you conscious?
Oh, yeah. I was just laying there with my eyes closed, and I'm seeing all these faces and voices. It was just like a hallucinogenic experience. And I thought it was...
Did they offer you anything to drink before?
No, nothing.
Just wondering.
No, I know. I mean,
No.
He's a logical person who's going to say, if I did not have this experience 20 minutes ago,
Yeah, just wondering.
and in my current reality of experience, something else is occurring, you start going, do I have a brain tumor?
Right, so what's wrong with me?
Right? Like, did someone slip me a hallucinogenic? Right? Like, what chemical compound, what chemical reaction is occurring? Especially for someone who does bioscience with animals, right? You're like,
And I spent my whole life trying not to have these experiences.
Well, I'm a teenager of the 60s, you know?
Well, enough said, right?
Well, I'm like the age of enlightenment, right? Like
That's
the age
right.
of Aquarius. So, and there's a lot of, you go to this biogenesis workshop where people are moving and playing with the energies and releasing blockages from your energies.
Yeah, see, Kelly, you know what it's all
So,
about.
But so they're letting some of things up and opening up, like some people say, opening up like a third eye.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden you could see, and so did you take this calmly?
For a while. I mean, I waited until he was done, and I'm like, is that normal? He said, no, that's not normal. This is what you'll be doing for a living. I'm like, no way. And so my other friends, out of the 4 of us, 2 others had interesting examples, which I won't go into because it's a long story, but they had really hugely impactful situations with that whole biogenesis appointment. And then I went home and I just kept having these really weird, crazy experiences of like another being, seeing another dimension, hearing another dimension. And it went on and on. And here I am, how many years later? 10 years later.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where it all started. Of course, I went home and I called him Monday, because this was on a Saturday, on Halloween, believe it or not. He even apologized and made the appointment. I only got one left on Halloween. I'm like, I'll take it. So I called him Monday. I'm like, what did you do?
Like, what have you done to me?
What did you do to me? Yeah. Yeah.
And so you started, like I said, you started experiencing the veil between worlds was lifted, which is supposed to happen on All Hallows anyway. Right?
Yeah. It's a perfect day.
A perfect day for this sort of thing to happen. So then what?
Then he was very encouraging. He became a bit of a mentor and was very encouraging about me following this path and not freaking out. And
That's helpful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If I hadn't had that, I don't know. I probably would have run the other way for one. But and then shortly after that, I met a woman, and she was in church, I went to the Spiritualist church in East Aurora because I'm trying to make sense of all this. And she was in the church in front of me, and after church was over, she turned around and she says, "Can I give you a message?" And she just starts going on about my art and blah, 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 and stuff she couldn't have known. And then I'm like freaked out about that, but we became friends, and we started an office together at the Roycroft in East Aurora, which has its own history of creativity, and
it really does. And that was that the Willow?
I called it Awakenings when I first opened it.
Okay.
It was just a little classroom and a little room for energy work, and that's what I did for 4 or 5 years. I don't remember how many years. I'd have to do my math, but I'll say 4 years. And then people were coming to me, like they'd take classes or they'd stop for services, and they'd be like, if you ever do anything, I'd like to be part of it, like a holistic center. So after a number of years, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a holistic center. And so I moved over across from Knox Farm State Park, which I'm still there. I had 12, I'd say 10 to 15 practitioners move in. We had a bunch of offices and extra classrooms and did that. But then I found that was more administrative, and I loved it. I loved the people there. I just loved it.
That's what you get for being, both someone who's open to the spiritual realm and administrative possibilities.
So you actually felt that you contacted people that passed away before? I mean, is that where we're going?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I could say things would come out of my mouth. There's absolutely no possible way I could have known. Couldn't have Googled it.
Now, can I?
Absolutely.
Okay, here's an experience I had when I was a little kid, about 8 years old, maybe 9. We were watching a parade, okay? And all of a sudden, my aunt got up. She went in the bedroom, took out a blanket, laid it on the floor. She laid down, and she started talking and laughing and, getting into all this. You could see there was not just her, were others were talking through her. And at the same time, some of the adults went in there to watch her, and I was trying to get in there to watch her.
Yeah.
And my mother was going, get out of there, you come on out, come on out. So she grabbed me by the hand and pulled me out. My aunt gets up, folds the blanket, puts it back in the drawer. She comes out and she confronts my mother and she says, why are you there? She says, I'm just getting some fresh air. She says, that's why they were laughing, because you're afraid.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
So your aunt was into this?
Apparently, because when they asked her what happened, it was 3 daughters, three sisters that passed away young.
Yeah.
And they were trying to communicate with their parents. And through her, they wanted her to go and visit their parents and tell them that everything is all right.
Did she do it?
I don't know. I was just a kid. I didn't know what happened after that. But that was the message, because she explained that to the other adults, their family members. She said they were laughing because Teresa was afraid, and because they were talking to me to go talk to their parents and tell them everything is all right.
So it runs in your family.
So it just, that to me was amazing. Very impressionable, 9 years old, 8, 9 years old, But I believe in that stuff.
Good.
So you were seeing and dealing, you're starting to receive messages.
Yeah.
So you started by seeing things, the seen and the unseen, right, by others. So then you started being able to deliver these messages to others as they were being delivered to you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so you open up a center, a holistic center. So when do you start combining because now a couple of different things that you do now, and that is you do readings where you combine your art and your ability to communicate with the unseen.
Yes. I either will tap into people's loved ones, and I run a pencil over a black piece of paper I'll take a white pencil over a black piece of paper, and a face will come up a bit like a Polaroid, very slowly, and then I just fill it in, and then I'll pass along any messages that come in. And so I'll say 60 to 80% of the time the person will know exactly who it is, because it's a kind of a dead-on, pun intended, dead-on picture. Or if there's a little, because I'm an interpreter, not a printer, right? So sometimes it's not perfect. Like I get the face too long or whatever, and they're not sure who it is. So I'll draw it maybe more than once, or I'll go into the message, and that might clarify it, or they just go home with a mystery. And I had someone come in this last spring at a show, and they said, we came to the show just to see you because we had a reading from you 2 years ago, and you drew this woman, and it's been driving us crazy. We didn't know who it was, but some distant relatives sold their house, cleaned their attic out, dug out these pictures, and knew I'd be interested in them. And in there was my great-great-grandmother, and it was a dead-on match for the picture you drew.
Wow.
So it's like you never know where they're going to figure it out, or if they ever will. One time I did one, and she took it home. She had no idea who the guy was. Took it home, put it on the table, and her husband comes in and says, why is Nate in your picture? She's like, oh my gosh, it is. They had just put a bid on this gentleman's land. He was born and raised and died there, and they were buying it. And it was, a mile or two down the road, and she didn't think anything of it when she's having a reading because she's looking for grandpa,
Yeah.
But it was some guy who...
It was a gentleman who's there, he's like, no, this was the place that I protected and loved, and I'm inviting you there, so I'm going to check out to see what you're up to.
Yep, I'm going to hang out and see what kind of person you are.
And what are you doing? You're coming over, who's this guy? Who are you bringing over?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's pretty, now you actually have some pictures here with you.
Yeah, I just brought some samples in. Right here, it doesn't show well, but this is, I'm just showing Kelly a few samples. So that's a little session, like a 15-minute session.
And so what I'm looking at is, it almost looks like running chalk or something or pencils on black paper, over top of if there was something underneath it. And you were sort of looking, if there's something coming through, literally coming through, like when you rub a crayon or something over top of a grave rubbing, or there's some other type of surface underneath, and you're bringing that sort of through.
Wow, that's really well said.
And so that's what it looks like I'm looking at. So there's very strong impressions, but it really does look as though the surfaces are raised from underneath. And I'll pass it on to Vince. And so you have 3 different images here, and one of them, a couple of them look like they've been done by different angles. So it's the same face in different angles. And that's super interesting. And that would have been from a reading?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, so when people come to you for a reading, do they know what they're asking for?
No, a lot of people don't. I mean, I guess it depends on their experience. If they've had readings before and they've heard that I do drawings, then they kind of have a sense. But I have a lot of people that just have never had anything before, any experience before, and they just want to connect with a particular person. And I do what I can. I can't always guarantee that, but yeah.
So now, do you think that the people who are with them are they guardian angels, or are they just spirits that are connected to someone?
I think we have a whole host of supportive energies with us. I really do. I feel like we have our loved ones always accessible to us, checking in. It's kind of like here, right? We're not with our mom. If our mom's alive, we're not with her every day, but we might call her, and it's kind of like that. Like they check in, or we're thinking of them, and there they are. That's my belief. And then I believe we do have guides and teachers and, guardian angels and just a host of levels of support.
When you do those drawings, are you sketching or?
No, it's a great question, Vince. That's how I started. I would see the person with my eyes. It would be like a hologram, and I'd try and draw them, but they would only be there for a second. So it was really hard because then I wouldn't have reference after a second. So I was sitting in my studio and I was kind of yelling at God, Spirit, whatever you want to call it, great energy, and saying, "This is too hard. I can't do this. I'm not having fun." And I heard a little voice say, "Just put the pencil down." And so I put the pencil down and started going like this, and the Spirit came in.
And that's where I was going. You actually go across the.
I just go across the paper, and it picks up. It skips over where the shadows are, and it catches where the highlights are.
So you're going to have a real gentle touch then.
Yes, very gentle, and it really, that's where I get...
Because, the faces look, you can see them.
You can absolutely see the faces that are coming through in your portrait. And it looks to me like something is underneath the page, right? Is the easiest way to do, where you're going to pick up the highlights. Yeah. You need to pick up the parts that are a raised surface.
But if your pencil is going up and down based on the energy that you feel, it has to be a really light touch.
It's like an electrical charge, almost like the two wires. Yeah, if I am having a bad day and I'm a little too heavy on it, that's a really good observation, because it does matter.
And now, so this is something that is akin maybe to automatic writing.
Yes, exactly. I believe it's more of a channel. Yeah.
Than anything else. And this is something that is allowing your innate artistic talents to connect with something that is unseen. So it's able to direct your natural what's the word?
Propensity?
Propensity and like productivity. Is that where I'm like
close? There
yeah,
like both keywords.
Yeah, I'm like somebody out there. We already talked about working with lexicons, right? So I'm like, so something that's able to connect with your innate abilities in order to manifest something that is easy for you to bring forth.
Yes, I feel anybody can connect to spirit, right? Anybody could do this, but if you're a little artistic, it helps, because then you know when to stop or when to get out of the way, or you know what I mean? Like,
You know what? Like, one of the things that I've always thought is that it doesn't matter what it is around you. I honestly think you can get the mysteries of the universe off the back of a cereal box.
I agree.
So
License plates.
license plates, anything in the nature that, but I've always said, and this is, people make fun of me for it, I don't care, that I'm not superstitious. However, I am omen oriented, and the difference for that being is that, say there's 100,000 black cats, right? But when I notice that black cat crossing way, or the birds are flying in a certain direction, or whatever the case is, they're doing it all the time. But when I notice it, that message is for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And if you said that to someone, they'd think you're crazy.
Well, I'm accustomed to that.
She's crazy.
Well, like, it's something. But then again, all you need to do, like I said, on the wall of my office, it says I have artistic license, right? So there you go. Once you get into, like, as soon as you associate any of your crazy with art, all it does is bring up your values. Right? However, when you're like, when you're a bovine scientist, or you're like, maybe not as much. You're like, I think she's talking to the cow. It's like, I don't know. Right? But of course, unless the productivity goes up, then you're like, maybe she should come back again.
It's so funny.
Well, that is, it's how we judge, right? It's like how things that we expected.
Yeah.
We expect inspiration and things from artists. We expect that somehow people who are associated with art are somehow intuitive in another fashion.
And it's acceptable. Yeah.
And it's acceptable.
Yes. Yes.
Right? When an artist says, it came to me, it was divine inspiration, I felt it, it was there, we go, of course, you're an artiste.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And somehow that's there. And then for you, though, that happens in reality. Now, one of the things that you do is something called spirit animal readings.
Yeah, those are fun. I love to do those. They're a little more lighthearted, because the loved ones, it can be very emotional. But with spirit animal, I feel we have all these great energies, and I actually didn't mention that one. I feel we have an animal energy with us, or more than one. A friend of mine got me interested in shamanism, though that's not my realm. I have friends that are. Shamanism is very based in the physical world, the natural world, and so he got me kind of interested in animal guides.
It says that for thousands of years, many cultures have honored the presence of spirit animals and believe they accompany us through our lives as guides and teachers. The power and energy of animals brings us wisdom. This is from our website. Brings wisdom and support of times of crisis and indecision, or help us find our highest path to move through the landscape of our lives. And so, how do you know what someone's spirit animal is?
It's a funny little thing. I just sit there and they show up above their head.
Really?
Yeah. But I got to get in that space,
Yeah, you got to be in the zone.
You got to be in the zone, and I sit there, and then usually I'll see the environment and then the animal, and sometimes I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to draw that. And they're like, yes, you are. Draw a bat.
Draw it away like...
I drew a bat, and she's like, I love bats. I have bats all over my house. I have pictures of it on the wall. I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
Well, with coronavirus, I don't know if you want to get into that too much.
What, bats?
Bats? They're connected, aren't they?
Right now, that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so I wouldn't draw a bat over somebody's head.
Not now.
Well, that's a different kind of ominous.
That was last summer.
I don't know. Because I'm like, maybe that just means like...
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah.
Well, different, maybe a fruit bat. But I'm like, I don't know. Flying mammals? Man, that's kind of cool.
I don't think those are I don't think that the creepy ones are all that common.
I'm like, well, they go after cows. So I'm like, I'm like
The vampire bats?
the vampire bats typically drink blood out of cows, not people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm like, my mom's a big fan of the nature. I'm like, nah, man. I'm a Discovery Channel. I'm kind of like, where I got my degree from, like animal husbandry from the Discovery Channel. Random information. I'm like, yeah, vampire bats, they drink from cow's blood. So
came in handy today, didn't it?
it did. Hey, you never can tell about these things. So all right, so you're looking for spirit animals doing things, and they're also called power animals.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So I'm like, see, I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm like, do I have a power animal? What am I?
You absolutely do. You gotta put me on the spot. Boy. See, I told you this is hard.
No, it's okay. I'm like, I won't know if you're lying.
I know, but I have this part of me that just can't do that.
That's okay. You don't have to.
No, I mean, can't just pull something. I'm not gonna.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
okay with that. I'm like, you have to do it off the air.
I'll come up with something. Hang on a second. Give you just 30 seconds of quiet on the radio. All right. Okay, so for you, right now, I see actually a white-tailed deer and a doe. Not a buck, a doe, not a fawn. And it's by a stream, its head is down. I could just go on and on why, but its head is down and it's drinking from the stream. So that to me tells me, I mean, I know you do a radio show, but it is about more than your current work. Your current work would be downstream, right? You've already done it, but there's a stream coming from upstream that hasn't reached you yet. So it's new water, it's spring water, it's clear, it's like fresh, like new horizons. So my interpretation of that is that you are thinking of or coming up soon is something new in your life, work-related, something kind of interesting, something exciting. It could be personal work-related or it could be work, related to the NACC here. And it's also in a woods, which feels to me safe, cozy, comfortable. So I don't feel like this is going to be something where you have to, throw your backpack on your back and move to Tahiti.
Too bad.
I think it's going to happen from your comfortable space of life.
Well, thank you very much. And then actually, interesting enough, one other time in my life, I think I was 19, a woman came up to me who did shamanic work. And she actually, at that point in time, had called me a fawn.
Really?
She had.
So your fawn grew to a doe.
Apparently my fawn has grown into a doe. And one of the interesting things about that is one of the things that she had talked to me about, and I was like, all right, lady, whatevs, is that she had said at that point that my fawn, she told me the story of a fawn climbing up a mountain, like this very rocky terrain, and going through a small pass, and that's what she saw there. And in the rocks was a predator that was going to be attacking the fawn. But the fawn, when it came out, the fawn was so unafraid that it did not get attacked.
Well, that's you.
Well, I'm like but it was an interesting story. Like this whole thing of like that my innocence and belief in the ability to be unharmed would be one of my greatest protectors in life.
Wow. That's very interesting.
And I was like, and in my head I was like, I don't know if you've known any philosophers, but there's a great philosopher, like Zeno's paradox tells us, like, that if a lion, a lion will never reach you, because it always has to cross half of the distance before it gets to the other half, right? So theoretically it will never eat you. I'm like, but I'm not entirely sure if you've ever watched a nature show, but it gets there. I'm like, there are multiple infinities, and some actually are larger than others.
That's interesting. We're talking about the woods because it was about safety, like you're saying.
Yes.
You always have been safe.
I'm like, and it's very interesting, which is weird because I'm constantly putting myself in peril. But I'm
here you are on a radio show.
Ta-da! There we are. But I think thank you very much for adding in that little insight. And of course now I'm married to a Buckley, right?
Buck?
I know, which is actually the same thing as I'm like the buck stops here, man. So there you go.
Huh.
I know. Who knew? Who
Yeah,
knew? Well, but speaking from a Hartke, I'm like, that's another type of deer.
Yeah, I didn't know for that name. My other one was Corrigan, not quite the same.
Not quite the same. So like a lot of things are going on. So now people want to do a reading or something with you. You actually have a couple things coming up. You have an art show coming.
I do.
Which is really interesting stuff. And you have that coming up.
The opening, I was going to write that down. I
That's
think
okay,
it's October 2nd, right?
I wrote it down for you.
It's a Friday.
Where did I write it down? So you got me thinking about deer. I'm like, deer don't have time schedules.
I know, isn't that easy? It'd be nice to be a deer for a day.
A deer for a day. So, but you are. I'll look that up in just a second. So you have an art show coming up soon, and that is in September, if I'm not mistaken.
October. There was a little typo on the Roycroft. Well, not typo. Oh. They didn't know the exact dates when they posted.
No, we never do.
Yeah. So now they know, and it's. I believe the opening is October 2nd.
Yes.
On a Friday.
Okay, so it was going October through November of 2020 at the Roycroft campus in East Aurora.
Yep, the Sure Gallery, yep.
At the Sure Gallery. And that is a one-woman show of Judy's work.
Yes. Yep. So busy doing that right now.
So are you actually a Roycroft artist?
No, I'm not. No.
Really?
Yeah, I just...
You're so talented.
Well, I am my realm was wildlife art, so it's Society of Animal Artists and Arts for Conservation.
Okay.
And those are all fairly big fees, to stay
Yeah, no, that's true.
And so the Roycroft is amazing, and I give them all the credit in the world, and I love the place. But I've never, it's just not been
getting joined in. And that's when like the memberships to organizations, like we advocate for them. It's a wonderful place to meet fellow artists, to meet fellow people who are working in your field, whatever your field may be. But it can add up.
It does add up, so you have to be very, very choosy, discerning what's going to work the best. Yeah.
Right? And I suppose part of that is to make sure that people do stay, because you can only stretch yourself so thin.
Right. And then the Roycroft has two. They have Rolla, and then they have another one that's starting, which I'm kind of interested in checking out. So they've kind of split into two different art groups. I don't know much about it, actually. I've not been, involved in it.
No, you don't have to yet. We don't have to know everything that's going on there. Because I'm like I said, so we're talking about a little bit of journey. You're doing this artwork, you're showing your artwork. Of course, you just did a wonderful little thing for myself. What has surprised you the most about people's response to either your artwork or the gift of spirit that you've been given?
I gotta tell two quick little stories.
I'd love to.
Okay, so I was doing the wildlife art, and that was a little hard to quit a normal job and be an artist, and people think you're a little wacky, but that was okay. But then I got into this, and it was so hard to come out of the closet. I really didn't. I met spiritualist people, and that was okay. And then I had nature art, totally separate. I went to a show to support a fellow artist down in New York. Actually, it was New Jersey, at the Blauvelt Art Museum, which is a very prestigious museum for animal artists. Everybody would love to be in that museum. So I went there with my sister. She lives in New York. And they noticed, they knew everybody in the room but me, like the director did. And he's like, who are you? I said, I'm just a fellow artist. I'm here to support my friend. It was a one-man show. And he's like, well, are you an artist? I said, yep, I'm an artist. Do you have a card? Well, wouldn't you know it, the only card I had was my mediumship card. I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to pull this out and give this to this man. So I did. I gave it to him. Because it had not been very well accepted by the world.
Well, and you did conservation, which is notoriously conservative.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. No,
so I handed it to him, and he's like, this is cool. Why don't you keep in touch? I'd love to see more of your work. I'd like to see your work. Maybe we could do something. And I couldn't believe the reception. So then all the other the staff are coming over to me and asking for my card.
Really?
And I left there, and I'm like, I cannot believe it. So that was a couple years ago, and James Bellis, great guy. I'm not great at keeping in touch, but I kind of am. And then you guys, it was hilarious when you called me. Just hilarious. She calls me and says, we're having an art show. Would you like to do readings? And I'm like, sure. We had a conversation and set it up, get off the phone. I'm like, I cannot believe a gallery called me and they want me to do readings at it. This is just unheard of.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because the marriage of the both.
No, super strange. And then I saw your art, and I'm like, and we're getting ready to hang the show, and I'm like, did anyone invite her to put art in? And I was like, no, why? I'm like, are you crazy? Are you absolutely insane?
In your defense, I never said anything because I was so blown away. This is hilarious.
No, and I was so, and I'm looking at your artwork, I'm like, why is there work not in this show?
I never said a thing though.
I know, no. And why would you? No, absolutely not. You call, like, when people call upon you for a specific thing, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, this is who I am.
That's who you are. That's what they want.
Yeah.
But no, I was super happy that, like I said, that I followed him. I'm like, oh, hello. Would you like art? She's like, well, yes, I'd love to put art in the show as well.
But it was just that was like the top of the mountain on this path of marrying the art and the spiritual part.
Yes.
Because I've always kept them very separate. I had 2 separate web pages. When I was with wildlife people, I never talked about this stuff, very rarely. But now, in this day and age, it has changed so quickly. So quickly. I just read yesterday, the day before, there was something on Facebook or whatever that came out, and it said the marrying art and spirit trend, which you must have just started that a month ago, because I didn't know there was a trend. I thought that was amazing.
Carol, would I tell you about the art of beer? First place to do that too. So I'm like,
seriously, I think you started the whole thing, and it's taken off like crazy.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say we hopped on your wave. Right? I'm like, because that doesn't exist unless other people are doing it, right? So there may be people who we're very lucky. I'm very lucky to be surrounded by artists and to be able to feel the mood, to feel I'm in the stream.
You are.
Right?
Absolutely.
We're in the
connected.
stream.
Yes.
And so that ability to do it, but that does not come isolated. There has to be something else that's occurring in the world at large.
Like a human consciousness.
A human consciousness.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Freud wouldn't believe in it, but Jung would. So I'm like, like any of the Jungian ideas of this of collective unconsciousness, that somehow we as a people are not separate, but that together we have common experiences and we have common reaction. And so maybe that art and spiritualism and how we envision our future, right, has to come from a deeper place.
Beautiful thought.
Well, I'm full of beautiful thoughts. We'll see if that even manifests.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's going to.
I think so. Well, you already are. I'm like, you already are. Oh, we have 2 minutes left. My goodness. That went so fast.
Thank you so much.
Our time together, I'm like, so again, she's going to be having, if you want to make sure that you reach out to Judith Hartke, who's joining us today on LiveNet, make sure you check out her live one-woman show at the Schur Gallery at the Roy Campus in East Aurora, New York, coming up in October, as well as reach out to her website. Where can they find you?
At judithhartke.com.
And you can take a look, if you join our Facebook page, just look on the link below our recording of this, and we'll make sure that that's there. So you can book an appointment for your biogenesis to see what you comes out when your spirits are unlocked. And then also find out more about how to bring together or to meet Judith. And for all of you who are joining us here today, we want to say thank you so much again for joining us here on Artfully Speaking with Kelly Buckley, live from the NACC. Of course, I'm Kelly Buckley. Thank you, Judith.
Thank you so much, Kelly.
And Kelly will be back next week.
We will. Next week, we're going to be talking about cash on delivery. We're going to be doing a comic farce from Western Door Theater. So can't wait to see that. And hopefully, we'll be all here with us again.
Thank you very much, folks.
I'm like, bye. Not yet. Bye, Judith.
Bye.